When a track has more than one nickname, you know it's one that gets everyone's attention, especially when one of those nicknames is too tough to tame. Darlington Raceway in South Carolina, the Lady in Black. This place has had its walls painted for over 60 years, and not with paint, but the sheet metal of stock cars. It reaches out and grabs its victims, and it never goes hungry. With its length at 1.36 miles, the incredibly narrow width and differentiating turns make it one of the toughest challenges in NASCAR. And with a long-running Southern 500, it hosts an annual crown jewel on the season circuit. Enter Bill Elliott. This place wasn't too tough to tame for him. He was one of the elite few that was able to tackle the track on many occasions. Bill came out of the rural hills of North Georgia with his brothers Ernie and Dan, who all played a vital role in his Hall of Fame career. They were off the beaten path of the majority of the hub of the garage, keeping their home base right in their hometown of Dawsonville. Bill went on to win Most Popular Driver a record 16 times and was the series champion in 1988. The winning started in 1985, at the beginning of the eruption of Elliott's very best years in NASCAR. In the first two races at Darlington that year, it was a rainy day with some doubt about getting the whole race in. Bill started on the pole in his Melling Racing Coors 4 Thunderbird and led much of the early laps, but Dale Earnhardt would catch him and take over and looked to have the best car in the field. Bill settled in the top 5 but didn't look as dominant. This car was crashed at Rockingham a few weeks prior and basically the whole right side was replaced. They definitely had to make plenty of adjustments to make it a contender for the 3 car. Lucky for them, they didn't have to worry about it that much longer. Earnhardt dropped a cylinder halfway through the race and was suddenly out of the picture. The race got delayed for rain and the possibility was amplified that it could be cut short at any moment, but they got the full distance in and Bill was able to get around Darrell Waltrip, lead a total of 146 laps, and cruise to victory. For his second career win at the Lady in Black, it was an all-time classic in the sport and one of his most memorable. In the inaugural Winston Million Challenge, R.J. Reynolds put on the task of $1 million bonus to a driver that was able to win 3 of 4 Crown Jewel events on the schedule: the Daytona 500, the Talladega 500, the World 600 at Charlotte, and, you guessed it, the Southern 500. Bill had checked off Daytona and Talladega and was one victory shy of this impeccable feat. His day began with a familiar setting on the pole. Once again, Bill raced out to a sizable lead early on, but Earnhardt chased him down again as deja vu. Bill had maybe the 3rd or 4th best car that day, but by process of elimination the race would fall into his lap. Earnhardt's car began smoking periodically, and it appeared to be a tire rub. He made it last a lot longer than it should have, but it took too much abuse and spun into the wall. Cale Yarborough took over the lead for a good while, and being the winningest Southern 500 driver, he was a serious threat to Bill's $1 million dream. However, his car also began to trail smoke and eventually blew a power steering line right in front of Bill. He was able to evade the smoke screen and scurry off to the lead, but with only 3 cars on the lead lap, Yarborough and Earnhardt were still in the picture. It wasn't enough though, as Bill was able to preserve the mechanics of his car and become a very rich man.
Bill Elliott is racing into the record books. Bill Elliott is going toward immortality. Bill Elliott gets the checkered flag. Bill Elliott has won an additional $1 million in 1985.
This kind of payday was the first of its kind and sent a shockwave through the racing landscape. This is 1985. $1 million back then was a lot different, and this sweepstakes would go on to be a fixture in the series for years to come. But it was Elliott who set the precedent. This race forever dubbed him as $1 Million Bill. 3 years later, and it's the peak of Elliott's career. Melling Racing had the total package. With the mechanical wizardry of his brother Ernie and Bill's pure talent, he was at the top of the sport in all aspects and would win his lone championship that season. What better to boost that than to return to his comfort zone at one of the most uncomfortable tracks out there? This particular Southern 500 was good old-fashioned NASCAR at its best. The only thing out of the ordinary was the flagman dropping the yellow flag on the track and the world's only tree-climbing dog making an appearance. Bill once again claimed the pole and took off with the lead, but this time didn't relinquish it any time soon. He led and led some more, but it would be too boring if this lasted all day. His crew had a hiccup and left a lug nut loose, forcing him to come back down pit road and lose all his track position. But with it being early in the race and plenty of cautions to catch him up, he got right back in the thick of it. So his problems for the day were about over, right? Wrong. He developed a tire rub, and not just any tire rub. This period in time was at the early stages of the tire war. There was constant conflicting fear of which tires could hold up more, Goodyear or Hoosier. Bill was on Goodyear's. It was a nasty battle that went on for years and had 2 phases, leading to a disastrous Coke 600. But that's another story. It had to be an uneasy feeling with this going on that it could blow at any moment. But luckily, he nursed it to the next pit stop. It ended up being a heavyweight duel with Rusty Wallace in the last several laps, and Wallace was visibly getting everything out of his car as he possibly could. He kept diving down low into the corners, but Bill kept getting momentum on exit, keeping him at bay. Rusty ended up using up his stuff and abusing the right rear, allowing Elliott to claim his 3rd W at the track.
They're in the final lap of the Southern 500. Bill Elliott with a 2-car length advantage over Rusty Wallace. Off of the 2nd corner and down the backstretch.
Rusty went through that 2nd turn high for the first time in a long time.
Now let's see. It looks like the interval is going to widen here on the final lap. Elliott puts the car way up against the wall. So is Rusty Wallace. Here they come off the 4th corner. It looks like it's going to be Bill Elliott winning, I think. Boy, it was close, though. I think Elliott won by about a half a car length over Rusty.
Oh, and by the way, he got a $10,000 bonus for winning the pole and the race. This place became his own personal bank where he could seemingly cash out anytime he felt like it. They called him $1 Million Bill for a reason. The next few years of Bill's career took a slight dip. He was still consistent and battled in the top 10 in points, but he didn't win nearly as much, and it led to him jumping ship from Melling at the end of 1991 and making the move to Junior Johnson's team in the number 11 Budweiser ride. It would give him instant success, popping off 3 wins in a row after the Daytona 500 and rolling right into Darlington late in March. It was a pretty typical Bill Elliott-Darlington race. He started outside pole, wasting no time taking the lead, but got past about 15 laps in and settled in the top 5. The team had a disastrous green flag pit stop that set him back a long ways, but called back up with the aid of cautions. Later on in the race, he came out of pit road 2nd under caution, and it put him right on the doorstep. He battled for several laps with Harry Gant and eventually passed him for the lead and never really looked back. He led 93 laps and got not only win number 4 at Darlington, but 4 wins in a row on the season. This is an accomplishment you see maybe once every 15 to 20 years in the sport, and truly helped solidify Bill's prominence in the series. He would go on to lose the championship in a heartbreaker to Alan Kulwicki in Atlanta, but he wasn't done with this place just yet. Our journey ends in 1994 in the Mountain Dew Southern 500. Not only is this a special one for Bill, but it's a special one for his owner too. Junior wasn't keeping the team together for much longer, and the days and years were running out for him, being involved in the sport. Bill rolled off the grid 9th and got track position with a fast early pit stop and took the lead by about lap 50. He ran around the front all day, and just like in 1988, some top contenders started dropping out one by one. Engines overheating was a big issue across the field, and Ken Schrader and Mark Martin, 2 of the strongest cars all day, couldn't withstand it. Bill's crew did their due diligence to keep spraying water under the hood to cool the engine down. Other drivers in the field were dropping like flies. As Dr. Jerry Punch put it looked like an automotive intensive care unit. After the last cycle of green flag pit stops, Bill was left to get through one man to his 5th victory at Darlington. You guessed it, Dale Earnhardt. Dale had maybe the most dominant championship season in history that year, but his tires were going away and he did all he could to conserve them. Bill's car was lightly smoking, leaving everyone on pins and needles, hoping he wasn't the next engine victim of the day. Dale didn't put up much of a fight and raced for the big picture and knew he had nothing for Bill. He rode off with a comfortable lead and cruised to one final triumph in the South Carolina sun, giving Junior a happy ending.
He can almost coast around now, make it, Terry. Yeah, if it blows up now, he can probably coast to the start-finish line.
45th Annual Southern 500 comes to a close, and Bill Elliott takes the win as he waves to the crowd.
Bill, after the race, revealed the water temp was 260, and he'd never had a car last that long, much less win. This facility and he were just a match meant to be. Here's the damage he did to this place. 5 wins, 22 top 5s, 35 top 10s, 1,012 laps led, and an average finish of 9.37. Sheesh. Bill would go on to have a son 1 year later, William Clyde Elliott II, or Chase. It's no surprise he would go on to win his second ever then Nationwide Series race at none other than the Lady in Black herself. It ran in the family, and the Elliott legacy is alive and well today because of it. Bill still ventures into various racing series nowadays and keeps himself busy. You can call him Awesome Bill, $1 Million Bill, Wild Bill, or Hall of Famer. But just remember, how do you conquer the track with multiple nicknames? Be a driver with multiple nicknames. He earned them all.
I'm Dawsonville, Georgia's race driving son. My car's number 9, a running son of a gun. I got my start when I was just 17, driving a car on my daddy's race team. A 63 Fairlane got me my start, but the way the car ran, I might as well left it parked. Things got even worse in 76 with a Torino Ford that couldn't be fixed. But now things are different, the crowd's roar is heard when I pass the stands in my new Thunderbird. I'm Wild Bill Elliott, a crazy racing man. I'd like to live up to John Wayne if I can. I'm driving my best when I make them tires burn, and I still give her hell when I hit my last turn. The press thinks I'm country and name me Huck Finn, but if Elton John's country, that's the group I'm in. I fly my own plane, and when I'm in the clouds, I think how that Winston Cup would make my family proud. I'm Wild Bill Elliott, a crazy racing man. I'd like to live up to John Wayne if I can. I'm driving my best when I make them tires burn, and I still give her hell when I hit my last turn. Sound good, don't it?